I'm Cath Newell, and I've come to talk about autism, a love story. So, once upon a time, I looked like this for a long time. For 12 years I had no hair, and I rocked around London on my bicycle, and largely my life was about beautiful things. I was designing and making lots of beautiful things for celebrity parties, interiors. I worked at Central St Martin's. I taught product design, I taught accessory design, and that's really what I did. I had a really nice life, all about beautiful things, and I suppose a lot of control. And so for 12 years I looked like this and ran around London town. And then I guess I felt a bit of a void. I was probably going to that 30-year-old thing, and my eggs were itching, and I thought, okay, what next? So I, within just a few years, I got married and had 2 children, and all was going to plan. Or was it? So, one of my 2 children has autism, and I wonder if you can tell which one. It's not easy on that. Anyway, this is Anusha, and this is Axel. They are 16 and 14 now. But back then, I didn't know a thing about autism really, and what I found really sneaky about it is that it sort of sneaks up on you. It enters your waters, as it were, without you, without any real signal. I can't see my writing now. Anyway, so that made it really difficult. This physically invisible disability makes it very difficult for the parent, carer, for friends, family, and for the public, because it's very difficult to understand that that's what's going on with this child, and you don't know. So for over 2 years, I thought my son hated me. If I tried to play with him or talk to him, interact with him, he would smash his head on the floor of the wall, and I would sort of very suddenly retreat and go and do something practical. So this invisibility can make it very hard for the parent carer, and as I say, for the public as well, and it means that this is a hard talk to do. It means that friends and family can be really unhelpful because they don't want you to think bad things about your children. So I'm trying to flag my concerns about my kid, and they go, oh, he's fine. Or even worse than that, they will tell me that I'm being melodramatic, I'm seeking attention. And so for a very long time, nobody would listen to me about my concerns about my son. But also it makes it very difficult when you're out in the public, because the public can't see it, so they think that your perfectly good-looking child is just really badly behaved, and that you are a really bad mum. So one of the examples I've shared is this one, where well beyond the years of putting your son in a trolley, I did, because it was my best bet for shopping at speed. And so I would shop at speed without him in the trolley, and then I don't know how many times the loving staff or members of the public would come steaming up to me and say, do you know what you're doing? To which after some time I learnt to say, no, not really. And before I had a chance to explain, they usually beetled off. But what they don't know is that I've lost Axel 8 times, needing police and helicopters to get him back. And I can tell you that sitting in a police car for an hour and a half does nothing for your adrenal glands. I've actually come to really like those people, because actually what I get is that they care. And so although the communication isn't terrific, what I get is that, that's come with an energy of, like, this is really embarrassing, I feel really awkward, but I have to say something. And I'm actually grateful for people caring about my son and kind of being concerned about his safety and about my sanity. There we are. Axel was diagnosed at 2.5 because he showed impairments in these 3 areas. I won't go into these. I did another talk at the Catalyst, which is called You Can Talk, and you can see that on YouTube if you want to, and that does define autism. But they are these 3 things. So speech and language is usually literal, disordered, or in the case of my son, he doesn't talk at all. So he's 14 and we've never spoken together. He has social communication difficulties, so that means that when you walk into an environment, you might sense the atmosphere, you might sense whether it's appropriate for you to be there or go. That kind of silent sixth sense social communication stuff that we do so readily is impaired. And the third thing about theory of mind, so they do have imagination and play and their version of empathy, but not perhaps as we would expect it or understand it. So those are the three impairments. The other thing that's now typical with autists is about sensory impairments. And what that means is that the five senses are often either very finely tuned, or very numbed. And the way that presents in each individual is unique. Axel's hearing is incredibly fine, incredibly sensitive, and so for many, many years he wore ear defenders everywhere, to sleep, to bathe, to swim, all the time. And now he'll often be seen like that, which means he's covered two ears and he can use the other hand for mischief. So this really does make for strange things, and so things like cutting hair can be terrifying for reasons I can't understand. But then things like having wobbly teeth isn't a problem at all, you just rip them out. It doesn't seem to hurt him, the blood doesn't bother him, and the teeth are gone. So it has its benefits. They talk about it being a spectrum. I've actually come to like the word constellation. The spectrum sort of has an idea of high functioning, low functioning, better and worse. And I actually think it's a very interesting and varied disability. And I think that whether you're particularly gifted or not, it's a hard disability to have in very personal and peculiar ways. Partly due to society's attitudes, we can be very rigid in the way we expect things to be, and partly because it is. So, having had these children, having thought I was doing super well, boy and a girl, married, everything, brilliant, this was really impacting my life strongly. The next thing we did was get a lot of therapists on board, and we did something called an ABA, Applied Behaviour Analysis, therapy for him, and basically I found myself a headmistress for a school for one. I had 6 members of staff, we worked 40 hours a week trying to help him to speak. So it's a bit like when you've had a stroke, you have lots and lots of therapy to try and encourage alternative neurological networks. But honestly, it wasn't working. We had speech and language therapists, play therapists, occupational therapists. We were up the kazoo with therapists. So we were putting a lot of pressure on ourselves and Axel to manipulate him to be like us. The idea of ABA was that there was a 47% recovery rate, but quite frankly with Axel it was like trying to get him to grow another leg. So on we went. We did loads and loads of therapies, and this is part of his ABA team. Wonderful group of people. That's Axel, bless him. I put him in a proper school uniform. I had the idea that he was going to be in mainstream with support, or at the Asperger's school. He got into the moderate school. I still had this idea that he'd need to learn to wear a suit because he'd be in an office one day. And pie in the sky. And things got tougher. So he was in, I love this photograph, but you can see how the neurologically typical adults are chatting, and he's really lost. He's really lost in society. And eventually I got more and more real about what I was dealing with, and I actually ended up fighting to get him out of the moderate school into the severe school, and then out of the severe school into the super severe school. And I don't know, I just felt like, could it get any worse? Yes. So, the impact on family is obviously enormous. You've got a child that doesn't sleep, a child that's not doing stuff. It's right in the centre, in the core of your relationship. So eventually Simon and I discovered we weren't on the same page, and we did separate. I found that easier. And actually in a weird way, by having separate houses, we offered each other respite. The impact on siblings is gigantic, and you can never make it up. And Anusha used to say things to me like, Mummy, can I have a therapy? Because he had so much. she was wanting something for her. So I ended up a single parent with 2 kids, not out to work. I stayed home for 10 years, which is a lot for a woman like me who enjoyed what I was doing. And I found it incredibly isolating and lonely, which is why I started Facebooking and talking about it. And I was living with a boy who, he would not look me in the eye. He wouldn't let me have physical contact with him in any kind of normal way. It got to the point that I even liked to put his shoes on because it was an opportunity for me to be close to him. And things got harder. So I have never shown these. I showed these obviously to authorities to get support for us. But the breaking just got sweltering, and the biting and scratching whenever he was distressed and in pain, as we all do, but he would extremely lash out. I got to the point where I used to go to IKEA and buy sort of cheap bowls in their 20s so I could scatter them randomly around the house to give him ammunition to save my nice things. This was the mirror in the lounge. He would smash his head into it if I wasn't paying him enough attention. Eventually it fell like a guillotine. This one is where he did a double whammy. He chopped his dad's phone and smashed the windscreen at the same time. This one, televisions. I once was going to write the 12 Days of Christmas about the 12 days of breaking because it got so severe. And this one, I don't know if you can see it, but the bruising from the bites got really bad. This is when it sort of got to its worst. And the biting meant that my carers were leaving and quitting and wouldn't work with me. And the stuff he got up to, he shimmied up a 17-foot pole up the scaffolding, and here I am on the trampoline trying to block him from jumping on it. So eventually I got help and managed to go and get him off the roof. So this period of my life, I call it the autism trench. And at this time I was getting up at 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I was handling him. The taxi would pick him up. I'd take my daughter to school. And then I would try and sleep and do meetings and replace things and mend things. And it was a really tough time. Trying to get him to sleep was really difficult, and then he would wake up 3-4 times in the night. So it really was a time of just getting my head down. This is what I do. I look after and I love this boy for as long as I can. And it got to the point where he was 8 years old, and at the looked after child review they said, "You need to tell us when we take him." And it was a really painful thing to hear, but it actually gave me permission to think it. I'm incredibly grateful for the support we've been given over the years in the form of therapies, carers, respite, and for the encouragement to take it. Because sometimes you can be offered help, but it can be another thing to take it and say yes. And sometimes love can mean to let go. Axel needs a team to look after him, and the care home had a 32-strong team. I managed for 2 more years until the worst day of my life when I asked them to take him. And within a week, he was gone. Axel went to stay at the care home 5 nights a week, coming home from Monday to Wednesday. And with some sleep, I pushed to have Axel tested because at this point, he was on so many drugs, and I just thought, this is crazy. We are giving him medications for so much stuff. What is going on? And it was at this time I managed to persuade a paediatrician to put him to sleep and test give him an endoscopy and do biopsies. And this turned out that he is just enormously allergic to an awful lot of foods. And so we've stripped gluten, dairy, soy, sesame, peanut and sulfites out of his diet. And whilst he's still very busy, he can sleep. He can focus, concentrate, sit and pay attention, and all his medications are gone. So it's had an enormous effect on him, and I'm so glad we finally found that out. I love this poem. A dear friend of mine sent it to me recently. They caught all the wild children and put them in zoos. They made them do sums and wear sensible shoes. They put them in bed at the wrong time of day and made them sit still when they wanted to play. They scrubbed them with soap and they made them eat peas. They made them behave and say pardon and please. They took all their wisdom and wildness away, and that's why there are none in the forests today. And I really think that with some sleep he was there, and it meant I could really enjoy him, enjoy my daughter, start training, getting back to work. And I really started to change the way I thought, rather than trying to make him like us. Why can't I? I'm the able-bodied one, right? Why can't I start to get behind him and really learn his language, learn the way he is, and learn his games his way, and play his way? So people hear autism and often think of the film Rain Man, and often they say, oh, what's his speciality? And I've come to realise he can't paint a skyline from memory, or estimate how many fallen mattresses by glancing at them. No, I think he's amazing, right? So if you think that I've got all of you and all of the books and all the internet to help me to try and love and look after him, and there he is, just a little island for one little being like him. He's got no pals to talk to, he hasn't got any pals, yeah? And I sort of think, here we are with all this kit, shit and caboodle doing our stuff, and I find it hard enough. And there he is working out, and I've come, there used to be a quote I liked by Michelangelo, which was, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set it free. And then I thought, what an arrogant thing I am. Like I'm the sculptor and I'm releasing my son. No, I think of it more like he's on a little island for one, I'm over here, and we're building a bridge to one another, and I'm trying to learn his ways and he's trying to learn us. And in the last few years, I feel like the bridge is starting to touch. It's a really exciting time. Anyway, so when I stopped hankering for the child I imagined and got behind and loved and enjoyed the child I have, then I really fell in love with him. And I love this quote, Nietzsche. And those who are seen dancing were thought insane by those who could not hear the music. And what I really get is you look at Axel, you see what he's up to, and you think, that's bonkers. But when actually you stop and stop judging, stop thinking about normal life, and sort of go, what is he actually doing? It can be a really wonderful experience, and he is different. So, I could never get eye contact with him and physical touch either, but for whatever reason, he occasionally did this, and I was one happy mother. I would do everything in this position. It was the one bit of sort of hugging my son that I got. This, I have no idea what, this was trying to pull mum's tongue out. And for ages, he was lovely, we would actually have a really nice communication here, and he'd be trying to get me to open my mouth and stick my tongue out, and my goodness, he had a good go. And something to do on a cold winter's night, have a go. This for me is one example of how clever he is. So, can you see, well, this is Axel outside his bedroom with the video player. Now, I used to allow him to watch it a bit to go to bed, and then of course I'd switch it off. Now he learned to switch it on, he learned to put the plug back in, put the switch back on, switch it on. So I used to have to lug it out of the room, and they're heavy, right? But this was the sort of technology that was less breakable. So I go up, because I thought, I can't believe I can hear Winnie the Pooh. He had gone to the understairs cupboard and got an extension flex, plugged it in and rigged it up. Now I've not taught him that, but I don't know where he got that from. But he sorted that out for himself. This one's a bit of a shocker, I don't know if you can see that. But he had a passion for flour. Flour is for decorating and for eating. And Axel would eat raw flour. He loved it, I don't know why, until he coughed clouds. But yes, he did a lot of stuff with flour. We do some ordinary things, and actually he's quite good at cooking and climbing and boating. But we don't do a lot of what you call normal activities. This for me sums him up. So he's a little lad, and he's decided to go and sit in the sea. He's fully clothed, and he's, I don't know, he's very fearless. So what I love about Axel, he's very authentic, he's very spontaneous. Whatever he is moved to do, he will do. So if he wants to run around and dance, he will. If he wants to run up and down and slap his thighs and vocalise, he will. In the supermarket, at home, whatever. And I really admire him. He has no shame, I suppose. And so I love that about him. And I think of the silly things we put ourselves through. I was working with a couple, and the husband admits that he hates his wife's mince pies that he's been eating for 50 years because he thinks she loves cooking them. And then she admits that she hates making them. And she only does it because she thought he loved them. And I just see how we tie ourselves in these social norms. And I sometimes wonder what we would really be doing if we were more like Axel. What would you really like to do in your life, in your day, whilst you're sitting here? Because I see he does it, and I'm curious, what would I do if I wasn't in this social norm? I love Axel's honesty, and if he doesn't want you in the room, he will very gently come and get your hand, take you to the front door, open it, put you outside, and shut it. There's no malice, there's no ugliness in it. I just really love his very straightforward honesty. And if he does like you, it's really mysterious, but he will. This is the first time he ever sat on his sister's lap. I don't know how old she is in this, but it was really weird, and your heart races and it booms, and you sort of think, why me, why now? And there's something very mysterious about him, very, very pure. And it's like he can tell whether you're carrying sort of toxins or whether you're clear. And if you're clear, he might like to be near you. And it's very beautiful, it's like a blessing. It can be really quite exquisite. And he is learning our ways, and he is reading, and he can type. He generally asks for his favourite naked bars, and he is more and more being able to look and cuddle. So all these sorts of sensory things seem to be calming down. Thanks to the support I have and the experience I've had, I also now have the privilege of working with people, parents like myself, as a coach counsellor, and I run support groups for parents of disabled children, and I write and give talks like this. And these are some of the parents we went to Stanley Park for a walk together in the summer. So I ask you, if you look out at the landscape that is your life, and if you know of any families like this, please offer your support if you don't already. It can be so very isolating and lonely. A kind text, a practical hand can mean a lot. We can't necessarily respond to phone calls and invitations, and I love this. Can I call you back in 5 years? Yeah. Before Axel, my life was about beautiful things, which are nice. But now my life is about beautiful beings with being beautiful. And to him, I am extremely grateful for this. I will never take eye contact or touch for granted. And I finish with the lyrics from Nature Boy. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, a magic day, he passed my way. And while we spoke of many things, of fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. And if you'd like to stay in touch, I'd like you to join my Facebook page, where there's a lot of stuff about autism and being a parent and the extraordinary world of autism. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. That was, well, I was absolutely enthralled, and wow is really probably the only word I can think of saying at this current time. But one of the things with the Bavard Bars, with the Catholics, is that at this point we can ask questions of the speakers, which is lovely. So do you have any questions of Cath in terms of that quite powerful, exceptionally powerful, actually moving story that was really something. Anybody affected by, I'd say affected, anybody have any sort of autism parable? Matt,
Yeah, I said to Catherine when I came in that I have a stepdaughter who I don't look after, and my wife completely looks after. We've only been married 3 years, she's about 25, and she's got Reds, which is, she's not difficult to look after in terms of she doesn't smash things, unless you leave things at her tray and then she just chuck them. But she's not violent or anything. But it was a lovely talk. It's really touching. Thank you. I was going to say something about naked glass, but no. You said that you cut out many things like gluten, and do you find that additives, or did you have to cut out every E? Because if my stepdaughter Sam has any E ingredient, she'd be seizuring for days after that.
What I really get is every child is utterly unique, and it's trying to unlock that. And even, I mean, autism is this enormous constellation. We're even knocking out the name Asperger's for some reason. And I think that in time there will be what we'd call biological autists and neurological autists. There will be different categorisations. And so then what's impacting them, what's affecting them will be better, there'll be, because at the moment, if you have a diagnosis of autism, there's almost 100 things you could try, literally.
Yeah.
And so it's cutting through that and trying to work out what your kid is a version of. But even the food thing it wasn't obvious.
Really?
Yeah, it really wasn't obvious. So, I mean, it's great that if you're saying that you can see this correlation between E numbers and epilepsy, then you know that's
it's not a little bit. It's an hour after eating something wrong, she should be having multiple seizures.
Okay.
But it was quite sad. Do you mind to talk for 30 seconds? This is a story from her mum, not from me. So when she was like 6 months a year, her mum noticed, this baby's not growing up like my previous daughter, there's something wrong. She's crying a lot, so it's the doctors. You need to take her out in the park more. Okay, she gets the 2, she's clearly not right, it's going bad. Doctors, no, nothing wrong with that. And it was only until she was about 3 that she was diagnosed, which is terrible. And then she was growing up as a normal child, and then by about 5, she then sort of lost her speech, she lost her movement, so you watch your child grow up and then you watch it regress. She was always a lovely, quiet...
Is that partly the Rett's rather than the autism?
Yes, well, Rett's is a form of autism, so I don't know, but I don't know, I've had a harder time as you did, but it's different, isn't it?
Is it Theodore Roosevelt said comparison is the thief of joy?
Yeah.
I want to write a play where you go, I'll raise your autism and your epilepsy. I do. No, it's tough, and epilepsy is really tough. And and the thing about achieving, Axel had probably 50 random words like seahorse, really handy, when he went to school. And then school didn't keep pushing with language, and he dropped it all. I felt like actually it's probably not a good analogy. I was going to say a dung beetle pushing stuff uphill, but it all rolled back down. But no, it's a tough journey.
Very nice. Yeah. Yes.
Actually, my son wasn't diagnosed till he was 12 because he had epilepsy, and it masked it basically. He's not bad like that. He's got a language disorder, semantic and pragmatic disorder, and you think that's not too bad, but in actual fact, it triggers everything else off as well. So.
I've written some quite contentious things over the years. And one of the articles I think I wrote was, would you rather be a Silicon Valley millionaire without the ability to flirt, and therefore frustration and no relationship, nothing, or a happy flapper, as I coined the phrase? And of course that didn't go down too well. But it was on the back of, I see some individuals who are happy and they've got their silver foil and they've got their nappy and they are content.
We call it Matthew's world. He has his own world, and we've always said it's Matthew's world, but actually he's got a lovely world, actually. We've had to learn to accept him and then try and gradually bring him across. That's what we've done as well.
And I think that's where therapy sits, is actually you go and join the child in their world, and then you, if you can,
I was lucky I had a sister that worked with very severely disability children, and she was the one that really picked it up, but it still wasn't diagnosed and she was at school at 12.
It's hard, professionals can be reluctant in case they're wrong. schools can be reluctant because they don't want the SEN bill, the special needs bill. They don't want to have to pay for additional support staff and so on. So there's a lot that's against a parent in some ways getting a diagnosis. I was really lucky in that Axel's so severe, no one called me.
I was more grey, so it took a long time.
No, this life is full of Pyrrhic victories, isn't it? I won a place in the care home. Yeah. Diagnosis as well, even itself, so a lot of people have a lot of resistance to winning a diagnosis for their child.
He actually stayed in mainstream school, and I was very lucky. The senior school actually was very good Senko. They were really good. Yeah.
It's great.
So it was good.
You meet some of the most wonderful people on these journeys, don't you? Yeah.
Any more? Yeah.
How many families do you support them on?
I'm really lucky. My son's school actually funds. They pay me to run. So I have 8 parents in a group. So it's a confidential group. It runs for a half term, and then the door opens. Newcomers come and leave, and it shuts, and we carry on like that. So I've been running a daytime group for 3 years now. I'm starting to look at trying to do an evening one, and also one in Lewis, hopefully. So and they're amazing. I mean, sometimes heartbreaking. It can be quite hard to hold, but for me, I find myself with my feet on the ground doing something I adore now. So whether I'm working with one-to-ones or working in groups or talking, it just feels really, they say, isn't there, there's 3 things to successful career. So are you good at it? Brilliant. Is it wanted desperately? And does it pay? It's coming. So yeah, I love that. And it was the group I wanted. So as I came through, I kept getting trainings to be a better parent. Yeah, so PECS training, Mackleton training, severe behavioural problem training. There was lots of things to train me to be better, but nowhere to speak, nowhere to say, how are you doing? I've had no sleep again. I'm really scared. And a lot of the topics that come up in the group are around fear of the future, practical things, how to manage epilepsy. And there's been some beautiful stuff come out of it. So I had one that was a nurse, and the other one was doing the ketogenic diet, and they have to do injections every day to check the blood levels. And so she was getting really flustered and upset trying to do this. And so the nurse went over at 7 o'clock in the morning and went and helped her to do this. So there's been loads of beautiful support in the group, outside of the group, let alone doing fun things like going for a healthy walk together. It's a really severe journey. And they're really beautiful parents, having to access, a lot of fight and warrior in them, fighting for their children's needs and medications and so on. And it's a privilege for me to sit with these extraordinary people leading extraordinary lives.
Brilliant, thank you. Any more, Cath, you're staying anyway, aren't you? So you're going to be around, so I think there will be some questions. But we will take a break now, and I think they're going to do some table service, or there's a bar downstairs, so grab a drink. I don't know what the time is, but about 15 minutes we'll be back for Neil and Fire. And if anybody wants to do the PK Light, come and find me. Okay, so thank you very much.